we got some amazing stuff going on today. All right. First, you saw some pictures in the last video. 4 dogs. First one's Junie. Junie had a kind of a heartbreaking thing happen the other day. So we only do rescues, and Junie was about 3 when we got was two when we got her. Somebody picked her up, dropped her off when she was 1 at the Humane Society, and we don't know why. Somebody picked her up, took her home. They had her for a year and they brought her back. Humane Society. She kept escaping. So we got her, and she's never tried to escape. She's absolutely in love with my youngest son, Tobin. Without question, this dog is devoted. I've never seen a connection between animal and human like Tobin and Junie. So, the Humane Society was doing the thing where they give you 3 shots: rabies, bordetella, and I forget what the other one was. If you bring your dog in, you get 3 of those shots for $30. Well, that's going to save us like $100. So we went there. But what we didn't realize is that she recognized the place. As we were pulling down the road, as we were turning in, she started really freaking out. That's when we realized she thought we were returning her, and that she'd never get to see Tobin again. She'd never get to come home again. Absolutely heartbreaking. We reassured her. We loved on her as much as we could. We kept telling her, "You're a teller. You're a teller. You belong with us. You're not staying here." All this kind of stuff. We got her shots. We got her in the car, and we drove home with her. And as soon as she was like tense and trembling, and as soon as she got in the car, as soon as we were driving away from that place, and she knew she wasn't going to stay there, she went slack. It was like holding soup. She just went slack. The relief was a full body relief. If we had known how traumatic that was going to be for her, we definitely would have just paid the extra $100 and taken her to the vet. My plan is to never bring her anywhere near that building ever again. I don't want her thinking that we're going to return her. Okay, then you saw the Rottweiler, full-blooded Rottweiler. We have papers on her. You say, how is she a rescue? This guy likes Rottweilers. He had one in his backyard named Bo, who was like, I think Bo was like 10 years old. And he knew Bo was on his way out. So he wanted to get another dog, a puppy, to like keep Bo company and then keep her when Bo died. Well, Bo hated her. He was always snapping at her, and he bit her on her lip. If you look at Sadie right now, she's right back there. If you look at Sadie right now, she's got a scar on her lip. We found out this was happening, and we went to get her. And what we found out is that she was majorly dehydrated, riddled with worms. He had a choke collar on her, and it was so tight. It had been put on her so long ago. It was so tight that you couldn't get it even to move. We had to cut the chain to get it off. She drank, I think, 4 bowls of water when we first picked her up. And what we figured out as we've been getting to know her, what we figured out is that Bo was guarding the water bowl and wouldn't let her get water. So she's really weird about water. Like if a little dog would go and want water, she'll step back. She lets everybody have water before she gets it, and she doesn't know how to drink very well. She drinks almost frantically to get as much water as she can, as fast as she can. It makes a huge mess every time. She's loud. If you know this channel, you know she's loud. That's why she's loud. So we've had her since she was 4 months. I think she's going on 5 years now. Next you saw Peanuts, little Chihuahua. Okay, so Peanut was super annoying, barking at every single bird that went by the house, barking at everything. And everybody's always yelling at him, screaming at him, Peanut, stop it, shut up, Peanut, stop barking, all this kind of stuff. So Guardian looks at this dog and he's like, he's the only one pulling his weight. And we're like, what? He goes, he's the only one pulling his weight. He's the only one doing a job here. Everybody else is lazy. He's the only one doing a job. He says, stop yelling at him and thank him. So whenever he'd see a bird and start yelling, we'd thank him. Whenever he would freak out because the boat from somebody walked by the house, we'd thank him. All this kind of stuff, and it changed his entire personality. He went from frantic and panicking all the time to extremely confident, and he's Guardian's buddy. His personality has changed completely. As soon as we recognized what he was doing and appreciated it, he stopped. It's as if he knew something was close to the house. It might be dangerous, and he thought we didn't. Letting him know that we do know has changed his entire life. When you saw his picture, he had a black harness on. And he was standing at attention. He's been doing that since Guardian's been working with him. The black vest was kind of his, Guardian started calling it his uniform. And when he had that on, he was on guard. And when he took it off, he could relax. Well, we upgraded. And we got him a bigger vest. It's got a handle on it and spots for Velcro on the side. It's a little bit heavier, and it's going to make him a stronger dog. And yeah, so he's got that vest. The plan is to put a little bit of gear on it. We want to get a Velcro pocket that holds a tiny multi-tool that we have ordered. It won't be very heavy. It'll just be enough where, on the other side, we're going to have a knuckle punch, which is a kind of like a brass knuckle that comes to a point and it only goes on the middle finger. So he'll be carrying a weapon that we can use if in emergency situations, and he'll be carrying a tool that we can use around the house. Peanut is a work dog. He's a work dog now. Instead of being a panic freak, he has been embraced by Guardian, trained by Guardian, and now he is he's reached another level, is basically what I want to tell you. He's a completely different kind of creature. And when Guardian showed him respect, the entire household started showing him respect. And once he got that respect, he changed completely. In the last video, we talked about Catherine, Love in a Box, Undeniable. We talked about Catherine, and Guardian is working with Peanut quite like Catherine. There's never going to be another Catherine for Guardian. He accepts that. But he can acknowledge that he has another warrior in the house with him. And that warrior happens to be a mixed breed Chihuahua. I didn't see it. Nobody saw it. Only Guardian can recognize that in an animal. So the guy who was just a panic freak all the time is now all the time chill, all the time working, all the time thinking, and he's everywhere. And we're going to arm him and set him up so that if we're ever in an extreme situation, all we got to do is call him and he's got a weapon for us. If we ever need him, if we ever in a situation where we need a screwdriver or a wrench or anything like that, we can call him and he's got a tool for us. His entire personality has changed. Okay, then you saw Jordai. That's Jordai back there. We talked about Jordai before. He's an old dog. I've talked about the white hair you can see in the background. What we haven't talked about is why I called him Jordai. We got him when he was about 4 months old. And we named him Jordai because I had a character in my work whose name was Jordai, so we named him Jordai. The thing is, though, Jordai was a puppy when I started writing Jordai Stonefist, and he's 10 years old now. That character was in a series that just finished being released called The Madness Wars. So you've got a character I was writing that we named the dog after I wrote him, after I created him and started writing him. And his first series has just ended 10 years later. We call Jordai because he's a Bolador. He's half bulldog and half chocolate lab. And the character Jordai is half Fendi, which is a tribe, a nation of barbarians on the mountain, and he's half Rogoth, which is another nation on the mountain. Half and half, you get Jordai Stonefist. Half and half, you get Jordai Teller. So those are the dogs. I wanted to show you pictures of them. There they are. Okay. I'm going to show you one thing from my office. This one's kind of cool. This is a cord. It's a rope that I've braided together. It's really long. And you ask yourself, why is this important? I was writing a book called Chased. This was years and years ago. And in the book called Chased, the main antagonist, God, I hate that word. The main villain is a character named Braid. Braid is a half demon. And he's very tall, very thin, muscular, but bony. And from the top of his head comes a massive braid that goes all the way behind him to the floor. It covers up a small horn that comes out the top of his head. When I was writing him, I needed something. So I got a little bit of rope, and I created this massive braid. And it kind of, I don't know, just kind of helped. It kind of helped. And it was very long. It was very thick. It's not a replica of what Braid's hair looked like, but it reminds me of that time when I was trying to create that character. So this is my braid. Okay, so that's what you're gonna see from my office today. I have it hanging on the wall back there. You might see it every now and then. But if you haven't, then this is it. What you've probably seen is the end of it, which is a rat's nest, which is exactly what Braid the characters, what the end of his braid looks like. Anyway, okay. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Let's talk about who we're about to see. I'm gonna call her the merchant. Her name is Megan Mackey, and she's a fantastic person, extremely interesting. We're gonna talk to her. We're gonna hang out with her, and we're gonna see what we can learn from her about conventions, comic conventions, or gaming conventions, or art conventions, or any kind of convention. She's been to all of them. And I was working a convention circuit in the local area before COVID, and plan on picking it up once things lighten up with COVID. So anyway, we talk about her experiences with it. We talk about my experiences with it. It's a great conversation. It's a fantastic conversation. She's a fantastic person. We filmed this. I don't even know when. It was a long time ago. But she was switching publishers, and so her book, what was taken off the shelves, it wasn't out anymore. So as soon as I found out that her book came back out, I wanted to get this on the air. I think I'm about a week late, but it is out there now. You're going to find out all about it, and you're going to meet my friend, the merchant. And you're going to do it. You're going to meet her right now. Hello. Okay. So this is Megan Mackey.
Hello.
Hello. And by the end of the time we have with her, we'll have a nickname for her. Have you heard about this?
No.
I'm writing an autobiography.
Okay.
And I'm writing about all my writer friends.
Oh yeah.
So I've got The Cannibal, which is Richard No.
Okay.
The Alchemist, which is M.L. Spencer, because I picked Alchemist because she's a science teacher, and I picture her like surrounded by beakers and fluids and stuff.
Yeah, totally. That makes perfect sense.
What?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and because of like her wizards and stuff that she uses, like the stuff she's doing with wizards. I got the Panda, which is Charles Phipps. I've got the Judge, which is Amanda Justice, and then I've got the Swashbuckler, which is Rob.
Okay.
And
so
the Druid,
good nicknames.
And the Druid, which is Sarah Torn. So we've got to come up. We've got to come up with one for you.
I guess, but all the good ones are taken.
Okay, we are going to put off talking about the hat for a little bit longer, so that everybody's so like
like there's like mystery and confusion, but
Okay.
there is a reason why she's wearing this.
Yes.
Okay. So
Mostly I put it on.
we have 4 very colorful, very cool covers that we're looking at. Yes, these are your books. I'm going to give you a minute to plug them.
Okay.
So
yeah, these are 4 of the 5.
4 of the 5. Okay.
Yeah, because it got weird when you tried to put that 5th one there with my head. You
Yeah.
know, spatial relationships.
Yeah.
But like this is the first one
Okay.
of the series. It's called the Lucky Devil series. Finder of the Lucky Devil takes place in an alternate Chicago where magic and technology are in competition with each other. We follow Rune Lavu here. She has a magical talent for finding things.
Okay.
And she meets this cybernetically altered corporate spy who wants her to help him find a wanted criminal called Anna Masterson. The
Okay.
problem is that she is Anna Masterson.
Well, it's a problem.
Yes, it's a big one. I spent a whole book dealing with it.
Okay, so in Finder of the Lucky Devil, I
Yeah.
heard a little bit about it from my wife.
Oh.
There's a bar called, is it called the Lucky Devil?
Yeah, the bar is called the Lucky Devil.
Okay, and it's got like a statue of a lucky devil there, right? Or
Yeah, an animatronic statue that comes to life when you put a wish in his pocket. You like write it out on this little piece of paper, and then you stick a coin in his cup, and he drinks the coin, and the paper magically disappears. Literally, it magically disappears and appears in Rune's pocket, and she's like, "Okay, they want nachos." You know, most people, as the tourist trap part of it, people will come and ask for things that are like on the menu, and they'll get a free something.
Right.
But then every so often, someone will show up with a jade coin.
Okay.
That's got the stamp of the bar on it. They drop that in there, and it's like these coins are worth $1,000. That's the opening consultation fee.
Okay.
And they can ask for help from the previous patron of the bar, Maddie, who was a full-blown wizardress.
Okay.
Rune is her niece, has just inherited the bar. She has the capability of being a wizardress, but she is basically just known as a talent. She has one trick that she does. She finds things.
Okay.
Hence the Finder of the Lucky Devil.
Okay. Well, that's very cool. That's very cool.
Thank you.
All right, and then we've got is Chrome next or is Saint of Liars?
No, Saint of Liars, this way. Saint of Liars is the second in the series. This one focuses a little bit more on Saint Benedict himself.
Okay.
So he's the cyber side of this world where like I kind of had the idea that technology is still advanced, but it was motivated by trying to compete with what magic can do. So like magic can do this one thing, so science tried to do this other thing.
Okay.
And so that's why we have like slightly more advanced. It's like kind of mostly present day, but slightly more advanced than where we're at now.
All right. And then you got Devil's Day, right?
Yeah, which way am I pointing? Devil's Day is the third one in the series. That just came out this last October.
Okay.
And then I'm currently working on the 4th one, which is titled The Digital Mage.
The Digital Mage. Okay, that's cool. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Okay.
I felt very clever.
What can you tell us about Devil's Day?
So Devil's Day is a little bit more of a prequel sequel. But basically, the Lucky Devil that the bar is based off is they celebrate Devil's Day, which is when the bar was incorporated, which was on February 29th.
Okay.
But what Rune finds out is, in fact, every 4 years they have to re-up the lease, as it were, on the bar.
Okay.
And with the Lucky Devil. And so you know, she's got a whole lot of things. Like there's another wizard trying to steal her bar, trying to take the rights away. So if he gets to it first, he could reclaim her wizard house, which is inside the bar. And so she's got stakes involved in trying to keep a hold of her bar.
Megan, that is such a cool idea. Okay. Death in the Crown.
Death in the Crown is a side story. It takes place after Saint of Liars, before Devil's Day. It is. I originally was just writing another story, and I got the idea that it was that the guy character who's Rune's cousin Elias, who we meet in Saint of Liars, could have been the guy. But the real premise of that story was I've always thought and wondered why the sexy immortal would always go for the 16-year-old. I was kind of like, what do they really have to talk about? I can't talk to a 16-year-old. I was like, why does that scream dating material to me? So I made the hero 68.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, yeah, so it's a side story. It explains a little bit more of the world, but you don't need to read the rest of the series to understand it. Okay. I put everything that you need to know in the story itself, but it's another entry point for people into the world itself. It does explain an aspect of how the magic system kind of works.
Cool.
But more it's about just finding someone to talk to and spend your life with.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
Then there is a fifth one called Saint Code.
Okay.
Which is its own spin-off series. I really do need to write the second one. But that one was about, there's a character in Lucky Devil, called Saint Augustina. She is like Saint Benedict, where she's a super corporate spy, and she's on the bad guy side. But I didn't really think she wasn't like evil. She was just on the antagonist side, and I was like, you're a bit too badass to just leave here. So I've spun her off into her own story, but I've still got to get my feet underneath me to get that second book written.
Right, of course. Okay. I'm still going to wait on the hat. I'm going to let them wonder about the hat for a little bit longer. Okay, so I have a story. I want you to jump in.
Okay.
Talk to me about it. Okay, so one day, I had just written a book called Queen of Victims.
Okay.
And it took place in hell, right?
Yeah.
A lot of it takes place in hell. It's a very dark book. It takes place in hell. And so I have to take my kids to school. I've been up all night writing. So it's like 7:30. It's 7. I've been up all night writing, and I wrote on a post on Facebook. I said, oh God, I should have looked it up.
What was the start of it? Yeah.
It was like, I said, I finished my book in hell, and like a bat out of hell, I was gone when the morning came.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how many of you are meatloaf freaks like me and Megan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a quote from
Bat Out of Hell.
A paraphrasing of a quote from Bat Out of Hell.
Yeah.
Right? And it came out like in the 70s or something. Right? 70s, 80s?
Then yeah. I don't know. I just have the song going in my head now.
Okay. So I read that, and when I've been up that long, it messes up my schedule. And so this was back when I was on a 24-hour schedule. So it messed up my schedule. So I was going to be up until midnight. I'd gotten up at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was 7:30 now, and I was going to be up until midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Called that going around the horn. So I get home, and
I think I replied to you with one of the other songs. It was some comment about like doing anything for love of writing, but I won't do that.
Right.
It was starting to become a conversation in Meatloaf lyrics.
Yeah. So I get home, and I get in bed, and I'm laying in bed underneath the fan in my room. and me and Megan, we go back and forth having a conversation in Meatloaf lyrics for, I think it was like until 9 o'clock at night or something. It was a long, long time.
I remember what it was. I said, well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's what I said.
That's what you said.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
So we had this big long conversation, and it was just one reply after the next.
Yeah, jumping from song to song. It was surprisingly succinct. We were able to talk about books, I think.
Yeah, and it was a really clever conversation.
Mhm.
And I knew when I was having it, like, I didn't know anything about you at the time.
No, I think I found that thread through like Charles Phipps or something.
Yeah.
Because I was friends with Charles.
So I didn't know anything about you.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after we got started, I was like, okay, this woman's a good writer. She's a good writer. Because we just kept, we would say a few things and then go into the quote. And I remember,
yeah, we worked the quote into the things we were talking about.
Right. And I remember we used both albums, Bad on a Hell and Bad on a Hell 2.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember at one point I had gotten a really good one. Long quote, really good. I figured I had done something really awesome. And I had mentioned that, like, you were getting tired of this or something and you were going to stop writing me. Well, I did it in Meatloaf lyrics. And you just came back with, I won't do that. And I was like, oh my God. That was awesome. I was like, yes, that's so cool.
It was a meeting of the minds. It was definitely.
It was great.
Yeah.
So great. Okay.
I wish I saved that thread. It went on for like a day.
Yeah, it went on for a very long time. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me through the day because I was all shaken up. And when you write in hell, and you write super dark, like grim, dark stuff in hell.
Yeah.
You've been there for hours. I had written like 7 chapters. I had done like 21,000 words. I had just, been in hell for,
Yeah, that was a monster, right?
From 11 until 7, I was in hell. And I'd finally finished it, and I was just like, a total disaster. And, you get into that, and it gets so dark, and it's so heavy on you. And like Meatloaf saved me that day. You and Meatloaf.
Good old Michael a day.
Yeah. So tell me about the writer, because Meatloaf doesn't write.
Jim Steinman.
So
yeah, Jim Steinman.
I don't know the writer.
Well, his name's Jim Steinman. He's prolific. He's written lots of things that other people have sung. I know Celine Dion sang one of his songs. It's All Coming Back to Me Now, which was on the third Bat of the Hell album, but this was after Celine Dion had already made it a very popular song.
Okay.
And I know Jim Steinman put out a musical just a few years ago, using all of his songs to build a story.
That's awesome.
Which I tried to go see, and then they moved the date, and so to like the next year, and by the next year there was no way I could go. Like scheduling everything, I couldn't sell the ticket. It was really disappointing. But I've listened to the album itself, and they've added other songs. Like there's a song on there I really like called What Part of My Body Hurts the Most, which is a very quintessential, like you'd expect Meatloaf to sing this song with some other woman as a duet partner and stuff, but this was written only for the musical. And it's fantastic. So he was a very prolific writer. I believe he's still alive, but not doing well, because I mean, to be fair, both of them are quite old now, and that is what happens.
Yeah.
Time and space.
Meatloaf's just amazing. He's just amazing.
Yeah.
I saw him. He was doing. I saw the famous video, Dashboard Light. Paradise.
Yeah. Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
A whole performance and everything, and he's just like, just watching him is just watching him move, own every single moment, and he's just amazing. And he had the ruffled shirts.
Yep.
The white ruffled shirts.
The whole opera thing.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and that's what it is. Like, it's a rock. It's kind of like a rock and an opera thing.
Opera and yeah.
It's just
the kind of music that, in a lot of stars we haven't had since.
Yeah.
I remember watching a YouTube video of, like, when Pavarotti was singing with all these pop song stars and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he was singing with Meatloaf, and I remember going, oh, this is barely different.
Yeah.
Usually, like, his great operatic voice has got this very funny contrast with the pop singer's voice. But when it was with Meatloaf, I was like, no, these guys are competing for that high note. They are, the only difference we have here is musical theater and opera.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, they're singing for the cheap seats in the back.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so Meatloaf. All right. I think I'm going to let you explain.
That's not my nickname. We're not doing that one.
Oh, God, no. I was just like, Meatloaf. Okay, that's checked off the list. I really wanted to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to address the hat. We're going to
come.
You're going to explain the hat. I want you to show us the coat and any features, and then I'm going to tell you about what I'm wearing and into the topic. So hit it.
Well, the hat is an evolution, and I'm not entirely sure this is the final evolution of it because the horns are new. But I initially bought this hat as an impromptu purchase. Whoops, there goes a horn. Impromptu purchase at the Bristol Renaissance Fair.
Okay.
To just leave it on because it's not coming up with the background. Come back here, horn. It was an impromptu purchase at the Renaissance Fair. And I'm really glad I did because this was the last version of this hat that hat maker ever made.
Oh, cool.
So it's pretty unique. Apparently, it is a pain in the ass to make. It's a complicated hat to make. I don't understand why, but that's what he said.
Okay.
Yes. And I got major compliments on the hat, wearing it all day after that. Well, then I became a self-published author and I started doing my own thing, and I was just going to these things. I had no uniform, I had no costume, then we did
you're saying cons, right?
Huh?
You said you were going to cons?
Yes.
We still don't know what we're talking about here. So
yeah, geek and nerd conventions of every color and ilk, anime cons, just geek people getting together, Star Trek cons, whatever I could drive to and afford the table fee at. I was doing that. And I did a Lake County Comic Con, which doesn't exist anymore. Apparently that was its last year. But it was over Halloween. So they were encouraging all of us to come in costume. And I was like, oh, okay. So I wore the hat. It had nothing else on. It didn't even have this band yet. I just wore the hat with like a fox tail, and I did a kind of like, funny steampunky fox thing.
Cool.
Well, I got so much traffic actually, because people would come over to talk to me about my hat and then would buy books. And I was like, maybe I should keep wearing the hat. So I just did. I was like, I spent all this money on this very expensive hat. I might as well wear it to every con I go to. So I started doing that. Then I became known as the author wearing the hat. I eventually got this leather band on it. And then it just kind of, I'm going to risk taking it off again. Other things. So like I have a leather feather on it that someone gave me. Different artists started offering me either discounts or adding to, like I bought this myself, this metal I'm having such a hard time here. The metal feathers. Bought that off of Etsy because I was like, I need to have a little something in the band. I used to have a coin that hung from it, but the coin got lost. But I would just keep adding to the hat till it became this very elaborate thing. Now I've got these horns that someone gave me coming out of the front because of the lucky devil and everything. So the hat has continued to evolve. The coat I bought 2 years ago now because we've lost a year to COVID. But it was again at the Renaissance Fair. So I had this very elaborate coat that I'm now wearing.
Oh, it's cool in the back.
Yeah, look at that kick-ass kicklet, right?
That's cool in the back.
Yeah, and it's multiple materials. So like I've got this part's denim on the outside. This part I think is wool. This is brocade. The back, the kick plate is velvet.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this is a very elaborate coat. It has a liner inside, so like this is a proper winter coat. I can wear this wherever it's cold. I'm supposed to, and we'll see if this happens. I'm supposed to go to the first con of the year in May in Florida. I will not be wearing the coat. I am not that silly. But I'm gonna get a lighter thing to wear for summer events or hot area events in the future. But this is right now my winter one.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, and it does have a hood, but you can't really see it under my hair.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah. So when I went to, and part of the reason is like, it is kind of like I'm on uniform so that if I want to be off, I just take everything off and then I can go and enjoy the con as I am.
Oh,
I
yeah.
still sometimes get recognized, but more often it's like they know that they can approach me as the author when I'm wearing the outfit. And I was going to the Superstar Seminar, which is a authors conclave seminar thing with like, and it's run like by the big names, like Kevin Anderson is kind of in charge of it. Like Jim Butcher goes and talks at it. Kevin Eikenberry, and I'm forgetting a lot of people. But very famous authors, you know, James Artemis Owen goes to this to talk and stuff. So one of the things that like Kevin Anderson was talking about is like when you're doing cons, you sort of need to have a formal meeting people uniform. Like his is, he wears a suit coat. He dresses up to meet people. And then when he wants to just go and join the con, he dresses into it, puts a sweater on and puts sneakers and jeans on. And it's sort of like there's a differentiation. So like the more professional I got with it, the more I was like, yeah, I need a formal uniform.
Yeah.
This is what I wear. This is what I do. But it's up to you how ostentatious you want it to be.
Right. So this is where you're at now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So tell me about what it was like, what your first con was like, and what you looked like then, what you were dressing like then. Tell me where you started. Because you've been doing cons. How long have you been doing cons now?
If we're not counting COVID, if we're not counting this last year, I had been doing cons for about 3 years.
Okay.
And just before, like the 3 or 4 months before COVID hit, I had just moved up to the next national level. I was doing national cons.
Oh wow.
With those famous authors I just listed. There's a group of them that go and do celebrity book stall called the Bard's Tower. And I had just been invited as a mid-lister to join them as part of that. So I was doing national cons, you know, from one end of the country to the other, Florida to Seattle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So where I started out was, yeah, this little dinky con. I can't for the life of me remember the name of it right now. Where I had an end cap table. I had a tablecloth. I at least had that much. I had a black tablecloth that went over it. I stacked my books. I just had Finder, and I had a different cover entirely.
Right. I remember.
Yeah, a more noir cover where you could see both the characters further away, and it was inside the bar itself.
I remember that cover.
Yeah, people still love that cover. Part of the problem, though, was that the people who already were on board with the series and stuff and loved that cover were not going to buy the book again. I needed to attract new audiences, so that's how I got this cover. Well, first I got the second cover for Saint of Liars came out, and this is the original cover. This is what he did, and it was like, oh, these two books don't look like they're in the same series at all anymore.
Yeah.
So this one is so good. Like I've actually won a couple popularity contests with it that I was like, we need to fix this one to look like that one.
Yeah.
Looks like it's in the same series.
Well, I remember Finder's cover, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But
no, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that cover.
Yeah, this is as good. This is as good. I mean, like you did a good job when you were getting the next cover.
But it was a process. Like my first book is rife with problems.
Yeah.
But it was just as good as I could make it at the time, and I decided it was more important to keep moving forward on the journey than to get stopped because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
So I always tell myself that those people who got that initial book, who bought that initial book for me and stuff, they have the collector's edition now. That thing's going to be millions of dollars, worth thousands of dollars someday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's, the raw, it's like getting an original copy of the original Harry Potter before she got picked up.
Right.
That thing that auctions for $100,000 right now.
I've got a similar thing. My wife did the first cover for Leafdom.
Mm-hmm.
And in Leafdom, there is, it's about a fairy. And one of the things that these fairies do is there's a certain family called the Stylist family, and their job is to ink the wings of butterflies.
Oh, okay.
Butterflies come in and they're clear, and then they ink the wings of the butterflies. And there's this one, it's the love interest, and her name is Stylist P. And she's got a little scarf that she wears on her head.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens with the butterflies is every now and then when you're inking them, they'll tremble and splash your face with ink. Okay. Uh-huh. So most people stop and wipe all of that off. And what she is so intense on her work that she just takes her scarf and just wipes her face. Okay. And so what ends up happening is right around this part of her face and down her neck, she gets what they call a splash line. And it's just a multicolored stain of ink that goes all the way around her face. It's called a splash line.
Yeah.
So Becca did the name Leafdom, and then she made a splash line around Leafdom.
Oh, okay.
Well, the problem with that is nobody knew what the splash line was. It was hard to identify it. But I sold about 13 books like that.
Yeah.
Before we changed the cover. So there's 13 books out there with the splash line as the cover, and I'll show the original cover in this video at the end in this video. But so like you've got I've got a similar thing as you do.
Yeah. Your first venture into doing this business, because there is a learning curve, and it's like a sheer cliff face.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to start, or you're not going to.
Okay, so back to your first con. It's a very small con. You got an in booth.
Yeah, in a soccer arena. So we have like the green spongy turf that we're walking on.
Okay.
Which actually is like a freaking godsend, because most cons are on concrete, and I have a pad I stand on to get through the day on.
Okay.
Weekend, but this place already was spongy, so I didn't think anything of it. It wasn't until the next con that I learned this trick. But it was bright green, so it was weird, like we were in a very like an industrial toxic waste field of green. It was just like nobody's stuff looked great on it.
Right.
The lighting was always kind of odd. But I was on an end cap, and I met two friends that I'm still friends with to this day at that con. One is to my right, the table to my right, just around the corner, was Owl Greetings with Margie.
Okay.
She sells like stationery and cards and little kitschy lanterns and stuff that are all themed, so they're like Harry Potter, popular stuff.
Do you have a link that I can share at the bottom to send people to her work?
I can do that. I can find everybody's link and I'll send it to you at the end there, and we can have it in the weekly do. Yeah.
Okay.
Plus the link to my stuff, obviously.
Of course. Yeah, I'll do all that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll make sure I get you that. And then on the end cap at the other end was Luke Dabb, who is an artist. And he does a lot of minimalist superhero art, and he has his own this very cute little cartoon right now that's been his COVID project, is this little like one panel cartoon that's coming out, and that's his Patreon and stuff. But I met those two people there. I ended up hanging out with Jim O'Barr, who wrote The Crow, for a little bit. Like, someone came up to me and said he had nobody visiting him at that time, and he was just like, hey, go up and ask him about fighting Russians in Germany. I was like, okay, that does sound interesting. So I went up and I literally asked him, I was like, so what's the story about you fighting Russians in Germany? And he was like, oh yeah, this was when he was in the army and he got stationed in Germany, and there was literally nothing to do. It's the middle of winter. There's nothing to do. And the Russians are on the other side of the invisible part of the Iron Curtain, because they're kind of in the countryside or something like that. Right. So he was like, yeah, me and like a bunch of my friends would go to this abandoned farmhouse like a few miles away. We'd all walk there in the middle of winter, and there'd be a bunch of Russian soldiers who would come and do the same thing, and we'd bare fist knuckle fight.
Oh, wow.
And it was always for like either one, your coat or your hat. Yeah. Because it was like, because you'd had to go requisition a new one if you lost it. So it had some stakes to it. And yeah, that's what he did. He says, like, in his time there, he lost a coat, but he won a coat and won two hats. The hats have disintegrated, but he still has the coat in his attic.
That's awesome.
And it was like, because there was nothing else to do. The bored, teenage, early 20s soldiers from both sides were just like, let's go, like, have a fight club.
Work it out. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was your beginning. How did you do sales-wise?
I believe that first day, or that first con, that first weekend, I sold 24 books. Like, I sold what I had.
Okay.
And it's like, it's basically the same pitch it's always been. Like what I pitched at the beginning of the hour is like, it's basically been that pitch, but it's a great idea. Yeah. And quite a few of those people, like Margie, listened to me pitch it all weekend and was like, okay, I need a book. I need you to just sell me a book. So she buys the book and reads it before the con's over. She reads it that fast, which shocks me because it took me 2 years to get to write it. I was like, dear Lord, save her. But she's been a dedicated fan ever since. Anything I write or publish, she instantly wants that book.
Well, that's cool.
And that's kind of what you want. So like, I still have long-term fans from that, even though they have like the pre-me figuring this out version, right? Which is more formatting than anything else, and a little bit of grammar. Like, I did have it proofread, I did have it edited. It just was like, they were people with skill levels as I was at that skill level of authorship. So, the story has not really changed. The story is the same. The story is just as compelling, but how the book is packaged has evolved.
Okay.
But if I hadn't started, I never would have.
Okay, so I got to tell you about my disaster.
Yeah.
Okay, so I decide real early, no cons, no ever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first, this is what I wear to the cons.
Yeah, we had a conversation about this on Facebook, didn't we?
I'm all black.
You were asking about it.
I've got a black vest, black shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I wear everything black except stainless steel. I got the stainless steel rings, all that kind of stuff. I've got a chain wallet.
Nice.
the black do-rag, the
I always hear you coming.
the black shoes. So I wore this to a wedding, and I had this. She must have been 11. My niece, and she's like, "Uncle Jesse, you are not this scary. Why do you dress like this?" The way I dress. She goes, "You're trying to scare everybody." And I said, "Darling, what you don't understand is I am scary." And she goes, "Well, you're wearing the outfit of doom." So this is what it became. It became known as the outfit of doom. So the first, okay, so I say no cons. No cons, no never. Okay.
Yeah.
And then my editor lived right up the road in a little town called Kimberling City.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote a book called Halcyon's Wake, and I'll link that in the description too. And it's a really crazy book. It's a crazy book. But they were having a book fair in Kimberling City. And he's like, "You got to come down, and you get 4 feet of an 8-foot table." And he goes, "And we'll share a table."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Cool." Well, he then promptly moved to Phoenix. So I was signed up for the fair, and Becca's like, "Do you still want to go?" And I'm like, "I don't want to go." And she's like, "Should I cancel?" And I'm like, "No." "You want to go?" I'm like, "I don't want to go." And she's like, "Should I cancel?" I'm like, "No." So we both know we're going. I just haven't worked it out yet.
Right.
I actually have a lot of anxiety and, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I get to this thing, and it is a very small room, and it's in a library in a town. Okay.
Yeah.
They've got the table set up, like you walk in, and there's tables right here, and the tables go down, and then they turn, and then they turn again and form a question mark.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they form a question mark. So I walk in. I'm trying to be early, but there's a lot of people already set up. And as you walk in and you turn down the row, I see a table on the corner that's kind of sideways,
Okay.
and there's a very professional looking man there who's a traditional writer, and he's got a spiritual self-help book because he also happens to be a pastor.
Sure.
He looked really professional. He's got a standing banner behind him and that kind of stuff. So I was just like, if I'm going to do this, and I'm probably not, I need to be around the most professional guy I can just to ask him questions.
There you go.
I'm dressed like this, and I say, "I'm going to set up next to Digger." I say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Called Digger in my book. And he looks at me, and he kind of gets this look on his face like, ugh, And I sat down. Now, this is how impressive my booth is, because I know you're wondering.
Mm-hmm.
I have 4 feet of table here. I have no tablecloth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the ugliest folding table you can possibly have. The kind with the thick plastic white, gray top to it.
That takes every stain and every scratch.
Yeah. So what I had done is I had printed out the covers for the books, and there was the Manhunter covers.
Mm-hmm.
And those covers are very bright and very, dynamic, and they're good covers.
They're good covers.
I had printed them out on 11 by 17 posters. And then I had another one there that had, I had a book coming out in like 2 months called Legends of the Exiles. And so I had a to be seen, like a to be released kind of.
Coming soon.
Right. Yeah, there we go. Well, see, it's almost like you're good with words. Weird. So I had that, and then I had a newsletter by that time, so I made up some printed out lines for people to sign up for my newsletter. Mm-hmm. Although I did not have a clipboard, I just had a stack of papers. I had a stack of homemade business cards, but my wife is a graphic designer, so I was very happy, but they were too thin. They weren't real. They weren't paper, but they were, they were just the kind of business card. Yeah, like something like that. And I had a box. So I stack up the books the best that I can. I'm sitting next to this guy, and I'm talking to him. He's got this beautiful, he's got this beautiful satin red tablecloth. Mm-hmm. He's got his books all set up. He looks great. I look like a club right next to him. I'm like, the whole day I'm having a panic attack. And I've been up all night. So it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. I got up at 3 the next night, and I'll be there until 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. So I'm like already kind of, I'm getting edgy. And so I'm talking to this guy, he's talking to me, and he says, when you go to a con this small, he didn't even call it a con, when you go to a book fair this small, if you sell 1 book an hour, you're doing really good.
Yeah, library con.
Mine, I didn't know how well I was going to be doing. So I sold them at cost. I sold each book for $5.
Oh, wow.
Signing up for the fair was free. So I sold each book for $5. I just wanted to see if this was something I was interested in.
This was proof of concept.
Right. I just wanted to see if it was something I was interested in.
Yeah.
So we sat there, and I had my little tiny panic attack and talked to people.
Yeah.
And Becca kept pasting me back together. And I'm talking to this guy over here who's, super professional. And I ended up selling 14 books.
Very good.
So, so I was really happy with that.
Yeah, that's very good.
I was pretty happy with that. Mm-hmm. So kind of, got excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the bug bit you.
So we're talking about going to the big con in Springfield, which is called Vision Con.
Mm-hmm.
And we're prepared for it, all this kind of stuff, but we don't know exactly how we're going to have this set up. And what we decided to do is we're going to buy small pieces of the booth, little bit at a time.
Yep, I did the exact same thing.
So, we're just going to little bit at a time do it. Well, my wife is a graphic designer, and one of the things she does is she designs trade show booths.
Yeah, banners and.
She knows everything she needs to know about this.
Yeah. So
we put together a really cool booth, but it's going to cost us like $800 to do it. Okay.
Yep, that sounds about right.
So we're looking on the site that we're going to have to do all this and pricing everything, And then we notice over in the corner, it says, order before midnight tonight, and you get 50% off.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
damn.
It's 10:30. So we start freaking out, putting all the artwork together and everything, and start throwing everything together. And we got it ordered by like 11:45, and we spent money we didn't have to do it.
Right, right.
But
But
if you're going to get it for half off, I mean, you have to do that, right?
yes, yes.
So we just put everything, every bit of profit that we made, we put into paying for the booth.
Hmm.
And I was able to go with a very professional booth.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of your booth. It is quite good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, your art is excellent. Like, I didn't end up getting a banner, like a scroll banner, until like, was it 2019 at about June. And I had it for, and then it was like, I had it for like 2 or 3 months, and it was like, it's this Saint of Liars picture, but just with my name and the series name on it.
Right.
But for the longest time, I was using like a printed out poster
Yeah.
and stuff. But like the banner was great, but it's sort of like something about having that extra professional level banner got me noticed, which is what got me into Bard's. Part of what got me into Bard's Tower was that like I was looking like I belonged there,
Right.
with
Right.
that kind of setup.
Yeah. Yeah. Those banners are great.
Yeah, and I used it right up until it snapped.
Oh.
Oh, and it was like crap. I don't even know where it is. I think I got sent to Seattle for Emerald City Comic-Con right when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And of course, it was the apocalypse. Everything was shutting down. Everything
Right.
was, and so like I had a whole load of books, and my banner had been shipped. And I'm not entirely sure the banner ever came back. I do believe the majority of my books did get returned to the guy who runs Bard's Tower, Alexei Vandenberg.
Yeah.
So they're like in his basement in New Jersey right now. But I believe that banner is lost to COVID in the mail system.
Yeah. Well, I have an in-house graphic designer
Right.
with like 20 years of experience. So, I have that going for me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Every tiny advantage that you can get in this game,
Yeah.
you have to take advantage of it. Or
The only thing she ever charges me is like I gotta make dinner. So
yeah,
that's
that's worthy. That's a worthy price.
so we went to this tiny con in Harrison, Arkansas at one point. And it started at noon, and then it went till 6, and then on Friday, and then on Saturday it went from 9 until 6.
Oh, yeah.
And I was sharing a 6-foot booth with another writer, so I had 3 feet. Okay. So, and this other writer was my friend. We had decided to share a booth. So I had all of the Manhunter books, and I had Exiles, and I had that out, and I sold. And it's not a big town. It's not a huge town, but there's a lot of little stuff around it, and it was a very small con.
It can be really great though, because for some people, this is the only thing they're going to go to.
Yeah.
So this is where their money's going.
I expected to sell like 15 books. So the first day, I sold like 42, and I was over the moon.
Wow.
Over the moon. I was like blown away. And
Yeah.
I said to Becca, I said, if we leave now, we're still way ahead. And she's like, yeah, if you want to leave, we can leave. And I was like, but the problem was I figured a lot of the same people were going to be there. And I needed something more to offer because I figured the same people have seen this already.
Yeah.
So I had 10 copies of my goats. Have you
Okay.
heard about my goats?
No.
Okay. All right. This is a story you want to hear. All right. So it's 2017, and I'm writing the capstone book for everything I've written so far. It's the 25th book,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a wedding at a barbarian society. There's a wedding.
Okay.
So before the wedding, these two nephews meet their estranged uncle, and they start talking and everything. And the uncle says, "Did your father teach you the song of Brestian and his goats?" And they start singing. Okay.
Okay.
And when Becca read it, she's like, "What's this?" Because she reads everything out loud to me. She's like, "What's this?" And I said, "I don't know." So she reads, I read a little bit more and find out that it's 35 verses long. 35 verses long. They get 35 verses into the song, and then the wedding starts.
Got it.
So they have the wedding, and then with a couple leaves, and they sing the last 30 verses. So this is a 65 verse drinking.
Song.
And
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wife's like, "Well, now you have to write this." And I said, "No, that's for fan fiction. Because I don't write poetry, I don't write songs. It's not in my wheelhouse." So so then I wrote that, and then after that, kind of as a cool down, because that was a 7-book Epic Link series. It was a huge series. And so as a cool down, I wrote Legends of the Exiles, which is about the same people, only like a generation before.
Okay.
And in that book, one of the women is serving the men in the drinking hall, and the men are singing "To Go to Brestian."
Right.
And my wife's like, "Now you have to write this." And I was like, "Absolutely not. I'm not doing it."
Right.
So a little bit later, I take a couple of months off, and I decide I'm going to write a collection of short stories that kind of plug holes in the series.
Yeah.
So I start talking to Becca about what stories she would like to see that she didn't get the rest of. And we come up with a list of about 8. And then a couple of days later, I said, "Email me that list of 8 so that I can see what I want to write tonight." And when she emailed it to me, about the 3rd one, 4th one, she had snuck in Goats of Bressian. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this, but so I'm 15 minutes away from this writers group that I'm in,
Right.
and it's about to start in 15 minutes, and there's nobody in the room. I'm not supposed to be writing, so if I try and I fail, then I can delete it, and nobody knows I even tried, and then nobody knows that I failed.
Right.
So I sat down and I wrote the chorus in 2.5 minutes. And I found out that what this song is actually about is this one chief of the Flurry Fist tribe loved goats. And he had a whole bunch of them, and he tells everybody in the tribe, "Don't touch my goats, leave my goats alone."
Right.
So goats are really hard animals to live with.
Yeah.
They want. And if you have to leave them alone and let them do what they want, they get bolder and bolder. So,
Right. Uppity goats.
So basically, when he dies at his funeral feast, she slaughters all the goats. His wife slaughters all the goats and serves them.
Yeah.
And the men start singing a song about the name of the goats, what it looked like, what its personality was like, and how she cooked it. Okay. So he had 60 goats.
So yeah.
5 bridges and the 5 bridges explain why he loved goats so much.
Okay.
And I just decided to write 1 a day and 2 every Saturday, until it was done.
Yeah.
And about 15 in, I was like, okay, I'm writing this song. It's a drinking song. You have to take a drink of beer after every chorus. You sing the chorus between all the verses. So this is going to get intense by the end of 65. And
Yeah.
so I floated the idea by Becca, and she loved it. So we had the party.
Yeah.
Called it the Festival of Goats, and we invited, I think 14 people came. I had a guitarist write the music,
Okay.
and I had a drummer who's a very good friend of mine. He came in and played the drums, and we just jammed out and sang this song. And everybody just had a blast. We had slides up that showed the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then we throw in that said guitar solo, drum solo, all this kind of stuff.
So, like, what you really got to do next is turn each verse into a TikTok video and release it as a series.
Yeah.
Capitalize on the sea shanty craze right now.
Yeah. So it took an hour and 45 minutes to sing the song. And by the time it was over, everybody was, really loose.
Yep.
We had to everybody brings their own mug.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of interesting mugs. And we served goat chili and goat cheese.
Mm.
And we had goat milk soap in the bathroom.
Sure.
And the very first thing after the whole song is ended and the last beat on the drum is played, the drummer says, "So we're doing this every year, right?" So the next year we had a mug contest.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody voted for their 2 favorite mugs, and we had a first place, second place, third place. There was a third place medal that had a goat on it, second place medal that had a goat on it, and then there was a trophy with the goat on it.
Okay.
And we didn't get to do a big party last year because of COVID.
Because of COVID.
But we had the thing, and I played the bass, and my son played the drums, and my wife and my other son played the shaker and the tambourine.
Mm-hmm.
And as a family, we performed the whole thing, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm telling you, TikTok is calling.
No kidding, right? So I've written the book. I've written it and I published it in a book.
Yeah.
And I had 10 copies with me at this con in Arkansas.
Okay.
And so I had sold so many that the day before, I figured same people are going to be there. So I put those 10 books up, those 10 goat books up.
Bonuses.
When people came by, I gave them the whole spiel. And by that time, I had worked up like how I was going to introduce each book and talk about each book. And then in the end, I talked about my goats. I'm telling you, Megan, it was absolutely magical.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you start talking about a barbarian goat drinking song, everybody loosens up and they just want to stand there and joke and laugh and talk and all this kind of stuff. And I started selling books.
Yeah.
And I was there from 9 o'clock until 3, and I sold completely out. And
Yeah.
there were still 3 hours of the con. So I just packed up everything, and the woman I was sharing a table with spread out. And I had sold at that con, I had sold 81 books.
Dang.
And
Yeah.
that's when it
That's
really
deep, but not by much.
that's when it really took off. That's when I started like really doing stuff, but I haven't been at any major ones like you have.
Yeah.
So I haven't had
I
to
think it was Motor City Comic Con. My top was 98 bucks.
Okay.
Yeah. And I couldn't bring myself to sell those last 2 books in the last half hour of the con. And I kicked myself now because I was like, why didn't you tell people you were 2 books from 100? You would have sold 2 books.
Right.
I was trying to do it organically, not try to force it. Now I'm like, you fool.
Right. Well, I have a thing where if you sign up for the newsletter, you get a free ebook.
Oh yeah.
So, so I have like if I sell just a bunch of book ones,
Mm-hmm.
I can have them sign up for the ebook, book 1 as an ebook, and then sell 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have this new Madness Wars series coming out, and I want to put it out, but I'm looking at a 6-foot table. So I sat down with the whole thing and just like laid out where I would put everything when all the Madness Wars books came out, and I managed to fit them all on the table. So I'm selling the 3 Manhunters books, Legends of the Exiles, The Goats, another short story book that goes with Legends of the Exiles, and the 4 epic length novels, and the omnibus of the Manhunter thing, the Manhunter series.
Yeah.
And I fit it all on the table with the clipboard for signing up and my little giveaway treats. Do you do giveaway treats?
A little something to come to the table. Yeah. Not threatening, just enjoy.
A lot of people have like chocolates.
Well, you've seen the pictures of my setup when I was solo, right? I had that big epic red and white bowl.
Yeah.
That had always filled with treats and stuff, and it was like it's just a nice way to like, because everybody in that room is trying to sell something to everybody, and it can be overwhelming. People can get too aggressive, and you're like, I don't want to come near you. You're trying to force this on me.
Right.
And so what I would always do is like, and this was from Con 1. This is like ground right away. I had a bowl of candy. And it was just like, you don't have to check out the books. Do you want a piece of candy? You know, it's like, hey, would you like a piece of candy? Just, lackadaisical, and just like, it's more about talking to you than actually selling the book. And then, you get them long enough, they look at the covers and they're like, oh, what's this about? Well, let me tell you. But they've invited themselves.
Right. Do you have a picture of that big epic bowl?
The big epic poem?
The big epic red and white bowl you were talking about.
Oh, the bowl.
I think you have a picture of it you can send me that I can.
Yeah. I'm sure I do. I'm sure I have a con table that's got the bowl right smack in the middle.
Okay, I want to see your bowl.
Yeah.
So the first one that I went to, the library one, everybody's handing out chocolates. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that is the problem. It's only effective if nobody else is doing it.
I'm joking with the professional guy here. He doesn't have anything, but I'm joking with him. And at this point, I'm trying to be as crazy and wild with him as I possibly can. Because why not, right?
Right.
So I said, I don't want to hand out treats. What I want to do is get a big barrel full of steak and like big steaks, and then have swords, and I can just hand out the swords and people can walk around, and then on the front of the table I have a trough of mashed potatoes, and I'm going like this. So then we're preparing for our second con, and I look at Becca and I said, how close can we get to the steak? And she goes, what? And I said, how close can we get to actually handing out steaks? And she's like, I don't think very close. And I said, what about jerky? And so we go to Sam's Club, and I find the jerky that I want, but it's way too expensive. And so I'm looking around at various things, and I find a box that's not too big, and it is a box of Slim Jims that are like
There
5
you go.
long.
Mm-hmm. The snack size.
Right, and for $20, I can get 120 of them.
Nice.
And so, at first I had this big steel bowl that I put everything in, but I whittled it down to a cup, like a steel camping cup.
Yeah.
And I just put a bunch of Slim Jims in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're walking by, and I said, you want a Slim Jim? They come up for a Slim Jim, and they want to talk. And I'll say, do you want me to give you a tour of the table? And so I tell them about all the books, and then I end with the goats, no pressure.
Yeah.
And then everybody starts
Well, they're not going to buy.
What?
If you pressure people, they're not going to buy, or if they do buy, they're not coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even want to do that. I want to just kind of lay it out. I want to lay it out that it's there, show them all that it's there, and then if they're interested, take it. If not, have a Slim Jim, laugh about goats, and move on.
Okay, exactly. More often than not, if people pass you by on the first time, but they had a good experience at the table, like about a third of those people will come back by the end of the day to pick up your book before they leave.
Right, right. With the professional booth that I've put together, and the crazy, and like the really professional covers that I have, I'm going to cons in very small towns, so they're not as professional. Nobody there is a published writer. They're not very professional, and so it's just what they can put together.
Yeah.
They just want to be at a con, and who doesn't?
Yeah.
They're lots of fun. People walk around at cons with crazy hats with horns in them. So
well, and I'm expecting the con scene to be insane over the next 2 years. People are going to be so hungry for it that the coffers will flow, and the wine as well. And
yeah, it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be insane.
But when they come by, I have a very professional table. I'm dressed in I'm not like, crazy dressed. And I'm, doing the whole thing. I got a Valium in me. I'm drinking, I'm mainlining iced coffee, which I think the two kind of cancel each other out.
Right.
And then, so I'm all good. My wife handles the money, so I don't even touch money.
That's nice when you can have someone do that.
And I've got a card reader, which has helped a lot.
Yeah, good old Square, right?
And I sign everything, and so, and I also got bags. I got these like thin plastic black bags, and I put my
nice.
I put my my logo on them.
Yeah. Yeah. And, nice.
So I got the bags, and that's really cool. And I just love it. Don't you love it?
Oh God, yes. I love talking to people. I love the more you do it, you start to have people become fans and recognize you, so they come to find you to talk to you. Yeah, you were just talking about like having kish and bags and things like that. Do you have coins?
Oh, you got coins.
I got coins.
You got little jade coins. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a whole drawer of them right now.
Okay, do you have a picture of that coin? like an illustration
Yeah.
that you can
Yeah.
send? Because I want to show them what it looks like.
Yeah, I have my brother-in-law got a 3D printer, and this is what he figured out how to do.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
he sent me an initial. Here's the design. It's good. Oh, this is what I hope it will look like when I print it. So,
That's
so I can send that to you.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
The cosplay.
Oh my God. I have seen some of the most amazing costumes. I think some of my top winners, you ever seen Futurama?
Yeah.
So you go Nixon's head in a jar, right?
Right.
This guy was walking around with his head dressed like Nixon inside a jar, and he had a wood pedestal built around him that he was pushing around.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was quite the setup, and it wasn't like there was a ton of room between those booths, but he was going through that room.
That's amazing.
With his box of and it was made of wood too. Like this thing was like you could knock on it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that was like that's top notch. That is very, very elaborate. I remember someone walking around as a Magic the Gathering card.
Really?
Yes, she was inside like you would with a playing card, but it was Magic the Gathering, and she was a mana.
That's awesome.
With the back and everything. And then this is my still probably the top most amazing cosplay I've ever seen. So it was Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus dressed as Norse gods.
Oh, wow.
And it was deeply elaborate. Like I took a picture, and I wish I could have gotten a picture of the back, because they had drinking tackers. He was carrying a very large hammer. They had various things and designs all over their clothes, their hair. I mean, it was just like this. It looks like movie set quality. Like you just stepped off of Thor Ragnarok.
Tell me you are going to send me a picture of that.
I have the picture. I will send you that picture. It's this was like definitely hands down the most amazing cosplay I've seen.
Awesome. I had a guy show up, and he was wearing like underwear that was kind of grayish.
Okay.
That's all he's wearing. So like really small grayish shorts and underwear. His body was streaked with like gray. He had the ears. He was Gollum.
Okay. Yeah.
He walked around on his hands and knees all day long.
Oh man.
His hands and feet. He walked around on his hands and feet all day long. So that was cool.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed about the cosplay, and at first I didn't get it. I didn't understand this one thing. So they come to the table, and I talked to them about everything, and they wouldn't buy anything, and I'd be like, But then I realized these people have to walk around in costume all day long, and so they don't want to be carrying bags with them the whole time. You know? So I don't try to sell to cosplayers until the very end of the day.
Yeah, when they're about done.
Yeah. And other than that,
my trick for that?
What?
You want to know my trick for that?
What do you do?
So at all cons, doesn't matter what, there will always be angels and devils of some sort.
Right.
Some variation on the theme, like it can be like, good omens level, but so whenever I see somebody who has a really great or original devil costume or an angel costume, I have them hold the book, and I take a picture of it, and then I post that on like Instagram, Twitter, and everything.
I've seen that.
Yeah. And more often than not, what they'll do then is like, now that they got this personal connection to the book, they tend to come back and get the book themselves.
That's cool.
But I've even varied it. Like I had one woman who looked a lot like Maddie. She had the haircut of the older lady on this book. And I just was like, hey, you're on my cover. And took a picture of her holding that book. And then she was like, she walked away and then came back like 30 minutes later. She's like, I should have bought the book. I'm so sorry. And I was like, don't apologize. Thank you for coming back,
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I do. Like once they touch the book, then it becomes like I was part of this thing. And then they do like I get more Instagram followers because they go to look at themselves holding the book. It kind of like goes beyond the con.
That's cool. All right, I gotta go.
Oh, is it over?
I could sit here and talk to you about this all day long, but I can't have like a 4-hour video. Not yet. Not in the first season. So, once Con World gets started again,
yeah,
and we go to a couple of them and see how insane it is now that everybody's back out. I'd like to have you back on the show and just talk about how crazy these cons got after COVID. Would you be willing to do that with me?
I would totally be excited to do that. Yeah, all absolutely. Right. Especially because like my first con, I'm supposed to be hanging out with Jim Butcher and James Marsters. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Pensacon. So I'm hoping I will have some good, juicy stories that I'm legally allowed to tell.
You are on such a higher con level than me. Like crazy, like way up there con level.
It's nice to be up in the, I call it the upper echelon and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning so much more. Like I did feel right before I got to this next level where I was like, I've learned everything I can learn about being an indie author. There's not a whole lot more to learn.
Yeah.
And I was feeling stuck. Like, is this all it's ever going to be? So then I just like, even in asking that question, the universe was like, and we're going to bump you up to the next level. You know nothing about anything. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a guy that sat in and he sold at cons everywhere. He did everything.
Yeah.
And he was at a little book fair that I was at, and he was right there.
Mm-hmm.
He saw me talking to everybody and the goats and everything, and he told me, he's like, if you went to Kansas City's con, you could sell.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if I went to Kansas City con, I would have a full-on body shaking, flap sweating panic attack, and I wouldn't sell anything. So I've got to get past that.
Yeah, but you're trying. You're getting there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's the point, right? We just keep building, we keep growing and stuff. I mean, that's what I really like about Bard's Tower too. It's like because we're all selling each other's. Like in 2018 when I went to Dragon and Con stuff, like there were 25 authors in the booth, and I was selling everybody's books, not just my own. And that like, you know, won me friends and stuff. So like when I needed to go pass out because I was exhausted and sick and everything, it was like, we've got you. We're selling your books. Don't worry. You know, and I went and took 2 hours to walk around and catch my breath again and stuff. So like you build a community, it gets easier.
Yeah, yeah.
And okay. I sold that one.
All right, I got it. Thanks for getting dressed up for me. Thanks
yeah.
for your covers. I really appreciate it. I'll put this out. And
I'll try to send you links to everything.
Yeah, send me links to everything we talked about.
Okay.
All your books, the people you've met at the cons that we talked about. You can't list of everybody you've ever met at a con. The ones we talked about.
Right, that would be a while.
I like some pictures of some cosplay. Give me your coins, all the stuff that we talked about.
Yeah, okay.
All right, cool. Thank you for coming. I had such a great time. All right.
Talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Wasn't she amazing? Is that not a fantastic person? I mean, I had to cut it short. I said, we got to stop. And she's like, is this over already? She is going to come back. We're going to talk about the cons once we get COVID out of the way. Once COVID's gone, like she mentioned in the video, the cons are going to be crazy. And I'm going to go to some, she's going to go to some, once we've got our feet set and we know what we're looking at, we're going to come back. We're going to come back with crazy amounts of pictures, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you a slideshow of some of the pictures that she sent me. And I'm going to do that right now. Okay. The Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus were outrageous. That's over the top. Some of the things that she showed us, she gave us, were just amazing. Couldn't find a picture of the Nixon head. She wasn't able to find that picture, which breaks my heart. But she did talk about it. Anyway, yeah, it's just amazing stuff. The cosplay when you go to these places are just crazy. And you could tell that the people that do this, that dress up like this, love what they love. They put a lot of work into becoming that character. And at these cons, they have a place to showcase that love and that art of creating the perfect costume for the situation. Okay, so this is my correction shirt. This is what I wear when I mess up. So when we were talking to the amazing, mighty Megan Mackey, or the Merchant, as I'm calling her, I mentioned the first cover of Leafdom, and we talked about how it had a painted splash line. And I said Becca did the words, and then she painted and Becca actually didn't do the words. The words were drawn by an artist named Chris Mostyn. He had a concept, and he drew the words, and you saw they were green and kind of thorny and all that kind of stuff. So the lettering for the word Leafdom was actually done by Chris Mostyn. So Becca didn't do that part, but she actually, when she was doing the splash line, she put a piece of paper down and she took paint and splashed it, and it was very cool to watch her do it, and like everything that she did to make it work. It was very cool. However, Chris Mostyn did do it. He did it free of charge, which was very cool. And we were just getting started. We had no money to push this thing forward. All the money that we did have, we put towards editing. So we paid a guy to edit the whole thing. And that's where the money went. But we didn't have a lot to get started. So anyway, that's my correction. So make mistakes. I know you can't tell that from reading my work. I'm just kidding. Okay, so yeah, Chris Mostyn did the lettering, and then Becca painted the splash line. Okay, now when I was talking about the braid, I said that it was from the book Chase. It's actually from the book Leafdom. So that's another correction. I don't know why I messed up so much this time, but I am wearing my correction shirt. So anyway, okay. Anyway, okay. Well, that was our episode for today. Wait, yeah, that was our episode for today. And I will see you next week. And yeah, we'll get back into the Guardian stuff. I felt like after the last episode, we needed to take a break from that story for a little while. So Megan Mackey gave us that break, and I'm very grateful for it. Anyway, okay, so I'll see you next week. Follow the baseline out the door and do all the things.